everyone, and welcome back. As always, I'm your girl, Candy Washington. So, before we dive into today's episode, which is talking all things the Valley, sprinkled with a little bit of Vanderpump Rules, we're gonna talk about Jax, Brittany, Melissa, Jesse, maybe a little bit of Lala, Ariana, Brittany. We're going to get into all of it. But before we do, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. So, with that, let's dive right on in. So, first up, let's talk about the show itself, what's currently going on, sort of dissect the characters, and then we'll go into some more specifics about what's going on with the people. So, first, I have this might be an unpopular opinion or a little bit of a hot take on the separation between Jesse and Melissa or Michelle. What is her name? Is her name Michelle? So that's her name. I called her Melissa in the thing. Anyway, I have a hot take on that. So I feel like everyone is sort of blaming Jesse and acting like he's sort of this douchey, bad frat guy, and he wasn't there for her when she had the kid, and she's like had enough, and now she's like finding her freedom because, as we know, she's currently dating somebody new. But honestly, I'm on Team Jesse's side, and I'll tell you why. I think that Michelle never was in love with Jesse. I'm not even sure she even liked him. And I'll tell you why. Not this episode, but the episode before, when she's talking about, how they met and how they got to be together. She says in her confessional that when she looked at him and she saw him, she knew that he was not the one. And when you look at someone and in your core, in your heart of hearts, and she said it so matter-of-factly, that this person is not the one, but yet she then continued to sleep with him and date him. In my opinion, she settled for him. And that's what we're seeing play out now. He clearly wants the marriage to work. He's clearly very much in love with her. He's using a lot of bravado, a lot of humor, a lot of, deflecting, acting like he's this big, bad, douchey guy. To me, that's a much more of an act. He clearly said, I want this to work and I'm doing whatever it takes. And he clearly doesn't think that he's good enough for her because in her mind, he's not. And he never was. So I think the demise of their marriage isn't so much that Jesse is this sort of douchey frat guy who wasn't there for her. I think she settled for him. I think the moment she saw him, she knew that in her mind, he was not good enough for her. But she settled for him because it was probably around the time where everyone's getting married, everyone's having kids, and she didn't want to be left out of that social, milestone. A lot of people get married, not necessarily because they're in love, but because they don't want to be, quote, left behind. That's what I really think is going on in this relationship. That's why she's the one who is cheating. She's the one out here with, I think I know who the director is, but I'm not going to say it publicly because it hasn't been confirmed. But that's why she's out here, allegedly cheating on him with big movie stars and directors. And she's been spotted with like her new man. We have a picture of it. Shout out to Candy K Natasha who sent me the link, and I'll show you guys her new man. And you guys, as you come in, say hi in the chat box. Where are you listening from? What are your thoughts on the Valley, Vanderpump Rules? Yeah, get active in the chat. Say hi. Okay, so that's what I really think is going on with Michelle and Jesse. And to be honest with you, Michelle is kind of a nasty person. To me, she comes across as mean. She has very mean girl, nasty energy. The way she treats Kristen, the way she treats Jesse, she just kind of has this like, I'm better than you, nasty attitude. She just comes across as, hey, Barbara, she just comes across as really nasty to me. And honestly, I think Jesse is getting a bad rap because instead of being like, you know what, I'm actually really vulnerable right now and I'm really hurting, he's kind of putting on this frat boy douche facade. But I think Michelle settled for him. And now she's like, you're not good enough for me. I settled for you. And now I'm in a position where I can leave you and date up and date the type of man that I always thought I should have been with and have the lifestyle that I always should have had. Hi, Riri. How are you? So that's what I really think is going on here, which is different than what I think is going on with Brittany and Jax. I don't think that Brittany and Jax felt like they settled for each other. I feel like Brittany and Jax were in love and deep infatuation, whatever you want to call it, and their marriage just went stale. I do think her weight, unfortunately, does play a role in it. It seems like Brittany and Jax are more like brother and sister. I don't think he's physically and sexually attracted to her. They're saying they had sex twice a year. She hadn't had it in a month and a half. Either they both are just going, celibate for a long time, or someone's dipping out, or both are dipping out. I don't know how long, adults who are used to having sex and are in a marriage just go dry without getting their needs met somewhere. They're not saying he has cheated on her, although allegedly he is now with his publicist. I have some tea on that too, which I'll share. So for me, it seems more of a case of Jax and Brittany were in love and a marriage that has gone stale, where the two people become like roommates. They become more like brother and sister. They become more like co parent than they are husband and wife in this sexually romantic way. That seems to be more what's going on with them. But when it comes to Michelle and Jesse, I think Michelle, low key, is a really nasty person. She seems to be really mean. And I think that she's been cheating on him. I think he knows she's cheating on him. But I think that he still would take her back if she wanted him. But everything you see on the show, it's not really this fake narrative of him being this douchebag. It's really her being like, you're not good enough for me. And I'm done settling for you. That's really what's going on here, in my opinion. Okay. Now let's get into that. So shout out to Candy Cane Natasha. She sent me a link to Michelle, and this is Michelle with her alleged new boyfriend. They didn't really say what do you call it? His name or whatever, but apparently this is what Brittany posted on her stories. And this is Michelle with her new boo thing. Like I said, she is the one who is allegedly cheating. She is the one who is dipping out on the relationship and all of that. So apparently this is her with the boo thing. I think she's been cheating on Jesse. I think that Jesse and Michelle came on the show to divorce. I think Jesse knew she was cheating and he was ready to leave the divorce if she wasn't going to take him back, but he would still take her back if she would. But I think Michelle came on the show ready to divorce him, and she's looking for her come up. She wants to be famous. She wants to be with a really rich, hot, famous guy. Nothing wrong with that. My issue is this with Michelle. Just own it. Just be like, you know what? I wasn't really in love with Jesse when I married him, because that's really what she said. Because you, like, when particularly a woman or a man, I would say, but when someone says, I saw this person and I knew they were not the one, and they say it so deadpan and so serious, like period dot, that, and they end up with this person, that right there tells you they settled for this person. And when you settle for someone, you will always resent them because you will think, I could have done better than you. And I think that is how Michelle feels. And I think Jesse won't allow himself to admit that. And instead, he acts like this douchebag. But the reality is, everything he is saying and doing is, I love you, Michelle, and I want this marriage to work. I don't think I'm good enough for you, so I'm going to use my daughter as a bargaining chip to get you back. It's sad. I think they should just go on and divorce. Jesse should find a woman who actually likes him, because Michelle doesn't like him. And Michelle can go off and become, whatever she wants to be in this life, hooking up with directors and hot guys and actors, whatever she wants to do. Mazel, go do you, boo-boo. Nobody's mad at that. Nobody's judging that. But don't villainize this guy when you never really liked him like that in the first place. And let this be a PSA for everybody out there. If you're dating someone and they have said out loud, either to your face or behind your back, and you know about it, when I met this person, I knew they were not the one for me, cut bait. Don't stick around thinking I'm going to change his mind. I'm going to change her mind. She's going to grow to love me, or, look at us now. No, cut bait, cut bait. Because that gut feeling, that initial gut feeling, that's not going to go away. There are people who are kind of like, yeah, I didn't like him when I first met him, or we were just friends, or I kind of saw him as a friend, or, whatever the case was, oh, she was like this, or he was like that, and we hung out and blah, blah, blah. That's okay. Like, that's like cute and fun. And a lot of people will grow to love each other from there. But if someone specifically says, I saw this person and I knew they were not the one, cut bait, because you're going to end up looking like Jesse out here. And the person who said that probably has narcissistic tendencies. So instead of owning the fact that they actually just don't love you, they're going to do a smear campaign to make you look like the bad guy. You know what I mean? Oh, Lexi says, I wonder why Michelle married Jesse. Okay. This is why I think Michelle married Jesse. I think she married him because A, he was there and he was willing, but most importantly, B, she probably married him around that time where all of her friends were getting married. Like, which I'm kind of going through myself, where you kind of get to that point where all your friends are starting to get married, and it's sort of like that time. So it's sort of like all of your friends around you are getting married. You don't want to be the single girl. You don't want to be the girl not getting married. And a lot of people do that. They get married to the person they're with, not necessarily because they are in love with that person, but because they don't want to be left behind. They don't want to be the single girl who is turning 30 soon. They don't want to be the single girl who is whatever the case may be, right? You feel that social pressure to get married because all your friends are doing it. And Michelle seems like that type of girl to me, where she's not going to be the type of girl that is the odd girl out. All my friends are getting married, I'm getting married. All my friends are having kids, I'm going to have kids. That's what I think. And I think Jesse was there because he clearly, in my mind, loves her. And I don't think she married him because she loved him. I think she married him because she knew she could control him. Because to be honest with you, Michelle is the one who runs that relationship, not Jesse. Jesse is wearing this mask, a very thin mask of acting like this douchebag, bravado guy. But that's so clearly a front. That is so very clearly a front. He said at this episode, I want this to work. And she said, I know you do. So she knows he loves her and wants it to work. She knows that. She said it dead to his face on camera. She says, I know you want it to work, but I don't know where I'm at. That right there tells you the dynamic of the situation. And when she's talking about the demise of her marriage, there is no sadness in her voice. There is no nostalgia in her voice, because there are people who love each other and the guy becomes absent and, maybe he doesn't pick up his slack or take somebody for granted, versus like a Brittany. When Brittany talks about her relationship with Jax, you hear in her heart the heartbreak, the bitterness, the sadness, the anger. Michelle is talking to you like she's ordering sushi. She's like, okay, I'll have some sashimi on the side and blah, blah, blah. You can just tell with Michelle. And her nasty comment about when the producer's like, oh, Kristen thought she was pregnant. And she's like, no, I hope she's not, because we won't need any more of her. Like, Michelle just seems really nasty to me. For lack of a better term, she seems like a really nasty person. Like, she's the kind of girl who's like mean and kind of has this like pretension about herself. She just seems really nasty. But I also say that to say this. I also think Jesse has that nastiness in him too. And I think that is why they even were together as long as they have been. Because remember, when Michelle was losing her mind and yelling a couple episodes ago, he was like, she's so hot. If she was more like this, Aisha was so turned on. It kind of seems like they have like a toxic attraction to each other. Because why is her losing her stuff at the table and yelling and screaming is what turns you on? That's toxic. That's trauma bonding. That's not love. That's gross. It's weird. It's bizarre to me. So I think there's a little bit of that in him too, which is why we get the douchiness and all of that out of him. And I think that together, they probably are a very nasty couple. But I think when it comes to them as the couple themselves, she clearly is the one in charge. He clearly is the one that wants her. She's the one who has been cheating, and she is the one who felt like she settled for him. But in my opinion, her narcissism will not allow her to admit that she is the reason their marriage isn't working. She has to make him the villain so she can be the victim. You see? I read through that like a freaking book. I was like, no, 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 sweetheart. Like, stop it, boo boo. Stop. And she had like nothing when she talked about their relationship. Like, like in these screenshots, she looks happier than she's looked with him the entire time. It's absolutely crazy. Okay, so that's kind of where I land with them. Now let's talk about more people on the show. So Luke and Kristen. Now, you guys, I'm kind of starting to think that the Luke, and I'm kind of like, did I fall for the okie doke? Like, did I get got? Luke and Kristen, are they lying and playing in our faces with this baby storyline? Is this fake? Are they pretending to try to have a baby because they clearly aren't in a place to get married, but they want to have some sort of storyline as a couple? Because as couples, there's only a couple of storylines you can do as the couple. It's we're going to have a baby, or the we're getting married storyline, or the we're going through it in therapy storyline, or we're about to be divorced storyline, or like we are the hero couple storyline, right? There's only a certain amount of storylines you can do as a couple. People have individual storylines, but your couple storylines are either having a baby, getting divorced, who's cheating, going to therapy, and things like that, right? Are they playing in our faces with this? Are they playing with our faces? I don't know. I don't know. We'll see about that one. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see about that. But Luke and Kristen as a couple are growing on me. Luke as a person, I still get a little like Jeffrey Dahmer vibes from him. Like, I feel like you will say the wrong thing to him and like his eyes will go all black and it'll just be like whoosh. And like, I don't know. I get a weird energy from Luke, but Luke is messy as hell. He's messy as hell, and now I know why he's with Kristen Doty. He basically said to Jesse in the pool, so you're okay with your wife spending multiple days getting wasted and drunk with a really rich, wealthy director and then hanging out with like a really famous actor without you? Basically being like, are you cool with your wife having sex with other dudes? That's basically what what Luke said to Jesse's face. Are you cool with your wife having sex with other men? And the entire world knows it. Jesse is ruthless. He is messy as hell. And yet that takes a lot of balls to say to a guy that you don't really know like that. Like Luke is kind of like the new guy in the group. That takes a lot of balls to basically say to this guy in front of his friends, are you cool with your wife having sex with other men, and blatantly disrespecting you? Because I'm sorry, my husband or whoever I'm with, you're not going to be spending days and nights with some other beautiful, amazing chick without me getting drunk and having the time of your life. Not if you expect to be with me the next day. I don't think so, boo boo. I don't think so, boo boo. But Luke was like, well, you know what? I'm on a reality show. I'm clocking in. He was like, I am clocking in. I'm clocking in. So there's that, you guys, with like the Luke and Kristen things. You guys are saying that, oh, Lexi says, I believe Kristen wants a baby. Natasha says that Kristen said she got pregnant and lost it. Oh, okay. Well, if Kristen said that, sorry, Kristen. I apologize if you miscarried. That's really awful. Sending lots of love. So sorry if that did happen to you. So yeah, you guys kind of think that Kristen really does want a baby and they really are in it. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, with Luke, them as a couple, 100% growing on me. Like, I think they're pretty solid. To be honest with you, other than Danny and Mia, I actually think Kristen and Luke have the healthiest relationship on the show. I am super confused. I hope my candy canes are my people. Let me know. I am super confused about how everybody loves Janet and Jason. I find them as a couple to be insufferable. Janet to me, she does too much all the time. She's Zillowing people's houses, knowing what people are paying, knowing how much they're paying in taxes. She's in everybody's business, but then she doesn't want to admit to what she says. And Jason, with his little beta self, like, no, thank you, sir. Like, it's not cute. It's one thing to be respectful to your wife, it's another thing to be an active doormat. Like, I don't know why people are like loving Janet and Jason. Like, they give me the ick. I am not with it. I love Danny and Nia. I think they are such a beautiful couple. I think he really loves her. He respects her. I think Nia is very down to earth. I love that she's sharing her not I don't love that she has it, but I love that she's sharing it about her postpartum depression and everything. He seems really genuine. They seem to be honest. They don't seem to be pretending. Like, it seems like with Janet and Jason, they are having this sort of persona about them. When I think that mask will fall. Obviously, Jesse and Michelle have some sort of, persona that they have going on. Jackson, Brittany, hot ass mess, as we know. I think Luke and Kristen, Nia and Danny are actually the healthiest couples, to be honest with you. Luke and Kristen seem to have great communication. They're clear on what's going on. They talk through things. He has her back 100%. And speaking of that, I'm going to tell you a couple of things I think is going on. Wait, no, my mind is going like a mile a minute. First, I'll tell you why I love Danny and Nia, and then I'll tell you what I think is going on with Kristen versus the group. The reason why I also love Danny and Nia, and I don't think that people talk about this enough, regardless of your specific religious beliefs or not, I think the reason why Nia and Danny are so healthy and solid is because their marriage is so clearly rooted in their faith. When they told us the story about how they met, like they had seen each other at some event or something, and then they met at church. And I can so, like, the way they speak, the way they talk about things, you can tell that they are very rooted in their faith, right? Whatever your personal beliefs are, that's totally fine. And I think that when your marriage with your person is rooted in a shared faith and standards and values and set of beliefs that are good values and standards and beliefs and faiths, that is such a beautiful foundation to build your marriage upon. And to me, I think it's very clear that the both of them have such a good foundation in each other and also in their faith, which is very, very different than having your religion as cover or performative faith. And what I mean by that is, I think that Nia and Danny share a similar faith. They sort of, whatever the case may be, seems like a really solid foundation for the both of them together. And you can see it. They are united and they have something bigger than themselves that is the root of their marriage, which is beautiful, versus using your religion or your faith for cover or being performative. What I mean by that is, let's look at Brittany over here, right? Miss Brittany. Brittany, to me, and I'm trying to be sensitive about this, but I want to share my honest observations. Again, I'm not talking about any specific religious belief, just religion in general, just blanket statement, because I'm not talking about any religion in particular. But to me, Brittany's religion, I think she weaponizes it and she uses it for cover when she wants to. What I mean by that is, Jax had cheated on her multiple times with multiple women, was so disrespectful to her privately and publicly. And then she'll be like, well, God said forgive. The Bible says forgive, so I'm going to forgive him and I'm not going to hold it in my heart and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, oh, hold up. Do not weaponize scripture in order to justify you wanting to stay in a toxic and unhealthy relationship. Don't do that, sweetheart. You can easily forgive someone, but also create healthy boundaries and also respect yourself. God gave us a heart, but God also gave us a brain. And it really irritates me when people use the Bible and their beliefs in order to justify really horrific and disrespectful and unhealthy things. And forgiving someone and allowing them back in your life and also giving them the leeway to continuously disrespect you is not what the Bible says and are not the same things. You can forgive and also create healthy boundaries. You can forgive and also never talk to that person again. You can forgive and also be cordial, but not allow them in your space. You can forgive and you can move on. You can forgive and you can let go of the anger. But forgiveness is not synonymous with, I'm going to let you repeatedly disrespect me. That's not what God wants for any of us. God wants us to be happy, to be respected, to be whole, to live in abundance, and to be loved unconditionally. God does not want us to use scripture or the Bible to justify people making us look like fools. That's not what it is. So that's what I mean, the difference between Danny and Mia's marriage, which seems to be really rooted in their faith and their standards and their values that they use as a foundation for their marriage, versus a Brittany who will use her religion to justify continuing to enable someone disrespecting her. You know what I mean? And Brittany, if you doubted it, let's see what mess you're in now, boo boo. Because apparently Jax is out here with the publicist. So Brittany has unfollowed Jax and their publicist Lori on Instagram, and Jax and Lori are currently in Canada together with the Toms. These are screenshots of them together. This is showing that Brittany unfollowed both of them. And then also it turned out, I believe Jax just got on Twitter, or not Twitter, TikTok. And the only person Jax is following is the publicist. So you want to tell me that's what God wanted for you, Britt? I don't think so. But he also gave us free will, which is why we have to take accountability for our actions. And to be honest with you, Brittany, you got to be accountable for the role you played. You're not the victim in this, Britt. You're not the victim. You knew who you married and you chose to marry him. Doesn't justify what he did, because that's another thing. There's a difference between being accountable for yourself, but just because you're accountable for yourself does not negate that other people are also accountable for what they did. So it doesn't justify Jax playing the hell out of you, and it's probably doing whatever he's doing with the publicist and maybe who knows else. Because I'm sorry, I don't think Jax is going a year without sex. I don't think Jax is going a month and a half without sex. I'm not, again, that's just my opinion. I'm not in his pants. I'm not in his bedroom. That's just my opinion on the situation. They keep saying Jax didn't cheat. Yeah, right. Again, that's my opinion. Not saying it's a fact. I'm not saying that it justifies or negates his accountability in the situation, but Brittany cannot pretend or act like she is so distraught and surprised that this man did this to her when this is how he has always treated her. If you go to the pound and the person, selling the puppies says this puppy always bites people. This puppy is a biter. It's not trained. It pees everywhere. It poos everywhere, and it bites people. And you think, well, I'm going to get him home and I'm going to train him. And then the puppy comes home and the puppy bites you, pees everywhere, and poops everywhere. Are you shocked? No, the puppy's doing what the puppy does. So Brittany, you knew what you were getting. And I found this TikTok that really, really breaks it down. So here we go. Let me play it for you. Oh, and the TikToker name is @YouKnowNat. So I want to give credit where credit is due. Go follow @YouKnowNat. Okay.
All right, Vanderpump and Valley people, let's go through the Jax and Brittany situation. So this is a picture from a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago at this point, where Jax is in Canada with his publicist, cozying up right before the announcement of his separation breaks. And today we have all of the buzz going around about how Brittany unfollowed Jax and this publicist, right? But the weirdest thing to me is that Jax just made a TikTok, and not only does he not follow his wife, but he only follows Lori, his publicist. And also, the publicist doesn't follow Brittany anymore, so I guess that's not Brittany Cartwright's publicist anymore. Here's where things get weirder, because remember that first picture I showed you where he was cozying up to his publicist a few weeks back in Montreal, and he had Tom Schwartz with him? Well, now he's currently, right now, in Montreal with Tom Schwartz. And we all know that Tom Schwartz is known as the guy who will absolutely help all of his friends facilitate cheating on their wives. If you don't know what I'm referring to, Tom Schwartz is the guy who would actually buy plane tickets for his friend's mistress on his credit card so that Tom Sandoval wouldn't get caught flying Raquel out to watch What Happens Live to stay in their hotel room. That's just the kind of man Schwartzy is, a real stand-up friend, especially for people like Tom Sandoval and Jax Taylor. I actually feel kind of bad for Brittany. This is obviously not a great crew and not a good look. It's probably devastating considering the fact that she's actually not following the father of her child on social media anymore. So I don't understand how this is like a good PR look at all for anybody in this situation. I've already been seeing some comments saying free Brittany, and I think Brittany might finally be freeing herself. What do you guys think?
Yeah, what do you guys think? It's a hot mess. And then also, if you watched Kristen and Tom Schwartz on Watch What Happens Live, when they were asked, do you think that Jax and Brittany split is permanent, they both said that they agreed, or that they would either get back together. Either get back together, they disagreed, or whether it was permanent, they agreed. So basically, everyone around them is thinking this is it. I think it should be it. Like, there's no sexual chemistry there. There's no romantic love there. And to be honest with you, I think they're both accountable for it. Like, I wouldn't want my wife going out and getting so drunk that she's puking. Like he said, and you also have to remember, when people say things to you, we really have to listen to what they say. Because when Jack said, he's like, it's not even about her being my wife, it's about her being a mother. That right there tells you this man has no romantic, sexual love or attraction for this woman anymore. Because he wasn't even like, I don't want my wife to be sick. I don't want my partner to be sick. He said, oh, I don't care about that. Like, she's a mom. He literally only sees her as the mother of his child. Damn. But you know what, Britt, you knew who he was. And you also, just to bring it full circle, you knew he was cheating on you with multiple women, but yet the only woman you ever seemed to have an issue with him cheating on you on was Faith. And if memory serves me right, you were more mad at her than you were at him. Because at the end of the day, you chose to take him back, marry him, and have children with him. But yet you're up here calling Faith, what did you call her? A nappy-headed bitch? Or something along those lines? Nappy-headed Brit? Does God like you calling people those types of names, Brit? Is that in the Bible, Brit? And I'm not trying to bash Brittany, but I'm just calling it out like I see it. He's never been faithful to her, ever. He's never been faithful to anybody. And the difference between Jax Taylor and Tom Sandoval is Jax tells you to your face exactly who he is. He's not that. I will give credit where credit is due with that one. Jax is the devil you know. He tells you exactly who he is. The women who choose to continue to deal with him, they deal with him out of the delusional thinking that they will be different. But Jax is the type, he is the devil, you know. He tells you exactly who he is. He's like, listen, I'm a cheater, I'm a liar, I'm a scumbag, I'm this, I'm that. I've changed, I've done this and this and this. Me and Brittany aren't happy, we're doing this. Jax tells you what the deal is. Unlike a Sandoval, who's like the covert devil, who will, deflect and get so irate and so self-righteous and does all of these things to divert your attention. He will lie and deny, until there's no more lying and denying. They're two sides of the same coin. They're both cheaters, they're both liars. They both have, in my opinion, I'm not a doctor, very narcissistic tendencies. But one of them is going to tell you to their face exactly who they are, and the other one is going to wear a mask and pretend like they're something that they're not. But they're the same. The two sides of the same coin. And if you watch the after show, they're clearly back as much as buddies as they can be, because they kind of have that love-hate relationship, because they're always trying to figure out whose ego is going to be on top. But if you watch the after show, it seems like they've kind of had, little kumbaya, and they're in a better place. And it seems like Jax is more on Tom's side than Ariana's side. The three of them, the two Toms and Jax, they're also in Canada with the publicist, so who knows what they're doing there. Seems like they've all had their sort of like kumbaya, ponderosa, and are kind of hanging out again. So there's that. Now, the rest of this cast and what's going on, I think, let's talk about how on Mad Day, Kristen said that, oh, you guys are coming after me, but Janet was the one who said that Michelle was a Republican, which means she's probably racist and homophobic, because Janet was warning Jasmine, if she starts talking about LGBTQIA and race and all this stuff, you're going to be the one that you have to say something and blah, 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 blah. Jasmine then tells Zach. Yeah, then tells Zach. Zach then tells Kristen. Luke also knows. And then obviously Kristen is the one who says it on the show. And then they're all mad at her. This is why I think that Jasmine and Zach were protecting Janet. Two reasons. One, I think that behind Kristen's back, there's probably a group chat that is, we are all going to protect each other, and we are going to just keep pushing the narrative of crazy Kristen for ratings and for drama, but we are all going to protect each other. Because that's clearly what's going on here. In my opinion, Janet obviously said it. Jasmine, girl, I don't know why you're trying to protect this woman. But she said it to you. Jasmine was sitting there like, this person right here never said that to me. Girl, you lying. Zach then went over there with Kristen and said, yeah, you're right. You're telling the truth. So is Zach lying, or are you lying, Jasmine, to protect Janet? Then the next episode, Zach and Kristen are on the same page, being like, yeah, Janet's the sniper from the side. She did say all this stuff, but then she acted like she didn't, and she just let all of us fight. The second reason why I think that they were lying and protecting Janet is because I think the conversation that Janet was having with Jasmine and maybe Zach was all about faking storylines and getting everything together on how they wanted to present themselves on the show. So I don't think that they wanted to expose themselves, that they were being very calculated about how they wanted to present who they were on the show. I think that the majority of these people were not actually friends. Maybe Jax is friends with this person, Brittany's friends with that person, but it's very clear that Jasmine and Zach were not really friends with these people. Maybe some of the other couples were, but I don't think it was 100% organic. Maybe they knew of each other at events, but clearly they're all coming together now, acting like they're BFFs. It's for the show. Ta-da. And I think that before filming started, they probably got together and was like, okay, like what topics and how are we presenting ourselves? What are our storylines going to be? I think they were all trying to get on the same page because they did not want to come across in a negative way, and none of them wanted to get, quote, canceled. So when Kristen brings it up, number one, it's going to expose that they're not being authentic, that they are getting together to make storylines and, well, if this person says this, then you have to be this way, blah, 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 blah. And two, they probably all have some sort of pact not to get each other canceled. Do I think Michelle is a Republican? 100%. Jesse probably is too. He pretty much said it. Jesse said, if this gets out, it won't be good for business. He didn't say this isn't true. Now, whether being a Republican, I'm not getting into politics on my channel. If you're a Republican, cool. If you're a Democrat, cool. You're a libertarian, knock yourself out. I'm not getting into that conversation on my channel. All I am saying, in the context of what happened on the show, it is clear, in my opinion, that they are Republicans. And there may be a certain, if you live in a very blue state, or certain, groups you move in, maybe they're very Democratic or whatever the case may be, you might be not invited to the next party, or you might not get certain deals with whatever connotation it means to be Democratic or to be a Republican. So I think that they were trying not to get canceled. Now, when it comes to Michelle being a racist or homophobic, I don't know. I haven't seen any of that. I don't know. I'm not really touching that. I don't know. I do think the narrative that she is Mexican and is an immigrant, and she has something else mixed within her as well, therefore she can't be a racist, to me, miss me with that. Racism and colorism, as we all know, exist in all types of races and ethnicities and wherever you are. Just because you're Mexican doesn't mean you're not a racist. Come on with it. You know what I mean? Like, hello. So that whole stuff was very weird. It seemed like they were doing the absolute most. The scene, and this is another reason why I believe that Janet and Michelle and everybody else was protecting themselves, was because when Jesse and Michelle are talking about the incident, Michelle says, I'm so upset that like my name is even mentioned in the same sentence as, being a racist or whatever it is. And then when she calls Janet, Janet says the same exact sentence. I would never put your name in a sentence with racist, or that has never crossed my mind. You, both of you, just by chance came up with the same exact line, or did you already say, when they come to film us, this is what Jesse's going to say. This is what I'm going to say. I'm going to call you, be ready to pick up your phone. And then you say, no way, I never said it. And like we already made our pact, we're all going to stick together, and we are just going to say, crazy Kristen, no matter what happens, she will be the scapegoat. Now, I'm not defending Kristen by any means. I don't have anything against Kristen, to be perfectly honest with you. I think Kristen's more real than all of them. I think she's laying it on the line. I really have no qualms with Kristen, to be honest with you. She has her moments, whatever. I have no issue with her. I think they all got together and were just like, we're going to be on this show. These are the talking points we want to get out. This is how we want to present ourselves. And we don't want to get canceled. And if anything happens, we're going to blame crazy Kristen. And that's how it's going to be. So that's what I really think is going on here. With that being said, I think as the episodes go on, their mask will fall. Their true selves will come out. The drama will come out more and more and more. And even in the confessionals, I was shocked how shady Jasmine and even Zach were being to Kristen. Because I was like, I'm confused, boo-boo. Didn't Kristen get you on the show? Aren't you here via her? But yet, every single chance you get, you're clowning Kristen and you are up Janet's and Michelle's butt. I'm confused with that one, unless all of you got together and was like, Kristen's the easiest scapegoat. And you're trying to hook your wagon, to them, because Janet is that type of person who like acts like she has like so much power and influence and pull. I'm not with the whole Janet thing. Like, girl, bye. Looking up people's houses, that is so tacky. That is so tacky. And like, if you're going to do it, don't say it out loud. Like, that is so tacky. That is so tacky. Like, if I was with someone and they told me they did that they like looked up somebody's house and they knew how much people paid in taxes and all this other stuff, I would be like, and I'm never telling you anything about my life ever. You're a weirdo. And I would keep that person at arm's length. I wouldn't just cut them out if they didn't do anything really, but I would just keep them at arm's length. I would be very cordial, very friendly, because if they're not doing anything mean or anything, but I would be highly, highly private with anything in my life with somebody like that. That's weird. Weird. Very, very weird and bizarre. And I believe everything Kristen said. I think Janet said all that stuff about Michelle. 100%. She said it. And Jasmine, she's being a bit of a pick me. So is Zach, trying to protect Janet. When Kristen's the one who got you this paycheck, and Kristen is the one who got you on this show. Not that I'm saying Kristen is perfect, but in this situation, have a little bit of loyalty. Have a little bit of loyalty. You don't got to kiss anybody's butt. You don't have to lie for anybody. But like, it's just not a good look when you see how mean they are to her when she hasn't really done anything to them except for give them a job. It doesn't sit well with me when people do that. You don't have to rock, say for whatever reason you don't rock with her. That's cool. But don't go out of your way to be mean to her. Like when she was talking about being an empath, she probably is. She probably is empathic. That's another thing. I'm on so many tangents today, but here we are. That's another thing I want to touch upon about the Valley. Like when they're talking about her being an empath and they like show her being all mean to people and stuff. And then also simultaneously with that, when Nia's talking about her depression, she's like, I don't want to claim it. I don't want to say I am depressed. A couple of things about both of those things. Number one, that is such a fallacy of the spiritual world and being a spiritual person, is that if you say you're spiritual or you're empathic, that somehow that means you are a doormat or you don't get upset or you don't have human emotions. Absolutely not. The most evolved people spiritually in a real, true, healthy way are the people who have the most healthiest of boundaries, self-esteem and self-worth and self-respect, because it's rooted in the divinity that lives within them. Again, not talking about any particular religion. So there's this false idea, the sort of commercialization of like, we're just Zen and we're just, zoned out and, we're just the spiritual and nothing gets what with us. Oh, no. That's not real spirituality. That is commercialization of being somebody spiritual. That is a caricature. That's not the reality of it. And I thought it was really grimy of the producers to sort of like do that to Kristen. I feel like everybody's out to get Kristen. And I can't believe it, but I'm really on her side when it comes to this. I do think she probably is empathic. Being an empath doesn't mean you don't pop off. It just means that you are super sensitive to other people's energies and feelings and experiences. And you can feel them as if they're your own. Your intuition is heightened. You feel things. You kind of know things. You can connect with people. That doesn't mean that you're sitting there all day meditating for 12 hours and nothing bothers you. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I just thought that was so mean and rude. That was that one thing. Second thing about this, when Nia was talking about how she didn't want to claim it, she didn't want to say like, I am depressed. That also sometimes either people who are into like manifestation or certain, spiritual things, they're like, they get scared of their thoughts. They're fearful of them. Like, if I think this is going to happen. Yes and no. You have thousands of thoughts a day. Every single thought you have doesn't manifest, or saying or speaking negative or negativity. They're so scared of it. No, you are the thinker of your thoughts. You are more powerful than your thoughts. You have your thoughts don't have you. You want to have a healthy relationship to your thoughts and your words. With that being said, I understand where Nia was coming from. She's saying she doesn't want to claim it. However, whether you want to look at it from a religious standpoint, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will feel no evil. You have to have the awareness that you are in the valley in order to continue to walk through it. If you numb or deny or live in delusion, being fearful that if you admit I am depressed, somehow you're claiming it, no. As long as you have the intentionality behind it of, I'm going to accept where I am right now. I'm going to have the self-awareness to know that right now I'm not good. I am depressed. I'm not feeling good. But with that being said, I do not have to stay here. I'm going to walk through this. I'm going to get this. I'm going to do whatever you need to do, whether it's therapy, talk to someone, whatever it is you need to do, get support, a spiritual leader, whatever you need to do, medication. There's nothing wrong with taking medicine, whatever you need to do to get through the valley. But you first have to acknowledge that you're in the valley in the first place. And there's so much horrible teachings around being scared of acknowledging where you are. Or you can take it into a more secular way of thinking. Think about your GPS system, right? You have to first put in where you are at. What is your current location in order to get a roadmap to where you want to go? You don't put where you want to go as your current location. You put where you are, and then you can create a roadmap to get there. Or take it from a different route, like the AA. The first step in AA is what? Acknowledging that you have a problem. There is nothing wrong. And acceptance doesn't mean complicit, doesn't mean being complicit. You can accept, I'm in a really bad place right now for whatever reason, whether it's depressed, whether it's something else. You can accept that. Acceptance doesn't mean that you're complicit. Complicit means I'm in a really bad place. I'm not going to do anything about it. It is what it is. I'm here. No. Acceptance says, you know what? There's actually nothing fundamentally wrong with me. I just happen to be in a bad place right now, and I accept that. And now I'm going to take steps A, B, C, D, E, F, G to get to a better place. So, however you want to look at it, whether you want to look at it from the AA, from a secular, or from a religious standpoint, the starting point is always self-awareness and acknowledgement of where you are, with the intention that you are going to move through this to get to where you want to be. So I understand what Nia was saying about not wanting to claim it, but that is what keeps a lot of people stuck, because they're so fearful to acknowledge where they are. Don't be afraid of your words. Don't be afraid of your thoughts. Don't be afraid of acknowledging where you are. Because once you push through that fear and you accept it and you are aware of it, that is when you actually get the tools to move through it, to walk through that valley, right? To get to the next point. But where she is right now is what keeps a lot of people stuck, because they're stuck in fear. But I'm happy that her husband, who was so supportive and loving, was like, listen, there is no shame in this. You need to talk to somebody. Let's talk to people. Let's get through this. Let's work through it. There is no shame in it. And I love how he wasn't afraid to acknowledge it. He was like, well, maybe it's like your high functioning depression. And then once he said it, and once he said there's no shame in it, that created a safe place for her to walk into it and be like, yeah, I'm high functioning depressed because this is what I know to do. I know how to say I'm okay. I know how to put a smile on. I know how to function through the depression. But that's surviving. That's not thriving in life, right? And so I think that was such a beautiful, teachable moment for people, that it is okay. And even Kristen was like, it's okay not to be okay. Because that's the first step to healing, is being like, I'm not good right now. I do need help. I do need support. I do need something, whatever that is you need, it is. But you're not going to get the healing you need until you admit that you need the healing. So kudos to Danny for being there for her and being like, there's no shame in it. We're going to get you help and it's okay. Because and if you think about it, I don't know if I'm like turning into my mom or something, but I'm like, every day in the news, it's a new report about something bad. But like, think about how many news stories we're seeing about mothers going into postpartum psychosis, where mothers are like literally taking the lives of their children and themselves. There are so many stories about that now. I don't know if I got on a weird algorithm with bad news or People magazine or something, but you're seeing that all of the time. And it's time to take, women and our mental health after having a child. I don't know what that feels like. I've never had a child, but like that needs to be a priority and looked at. Because it seems to me like at alarming rates, we're having more and more stories about women having postpartum, not just depression, but psychosis. Maybe it always has been, and people haven't talked about it, or it hasn't been diagnosed, or they're calling it something else, but alarming rates, So I think it's great they're talking about it. I don't see Nia and Danny coming back for a season 2 or 3. I feel like they might be a one and done. because they are such a healthy couple. And I think that maybe they thought the show was going to be something that it wasn't, because I don't believe for 1 second that Nia left the girls' sleepover because Danny told her to come home. I think she left the girls' sleepover because she wanted to leave. And I think she just used the excuse of, oh, Danny really wants me home with the kids, and the heating has gone out and blah blah blah. I don't believe for 1 second Danny told her to come home. I think she just said that because she wanted to get out of there. You know? So that's kind of where I land on that. And let's see what else. Who else is going on? I think we talked about everybody. Jasmine and Zach have barely been in the last couple of episodes. So yeah, that's kind of where I land on the Valley and everything. So I want to know what you guys think. Put it down below. Are you watching? Are you going to continue to watch? What do you think about all of the couples and where they stand? Do you think I think it's getting more real than what they actually thought that they were going to do. I think they all came in thinking, except for Kristen, I think they all came in thinking, this is how I'm going to betray myself on the show so I can get, money and endorsements and more fame. But I think it's going to become more real than they had anticipated. And I don't think Nia and Danny will be back. I think they're going to focus on their family. So as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. So with that, let's go into one quick story and then I will open it up for questions and comments. So this is according to Reality Blurb, and apparently Brittany is beefing with Katie and Stassi. So Brittany Cartwright addressed why she isn't as close with Stassi Schroeder and Katie Maloney, and she hinted that Michelle and Jesse Lawley have been, quote, separated for a while, though they just disclosed it before the Valley's premiere. I agree with that. Like I always said from jump, Jesse and Michelle came on the show to divorce. Brittany, Stassi, and Katie were once good friends on Vanderpump Rules, though Brittany has since fallen out with them. Of the three, only Katie has remained on the original show. Neither Stassi or Katie has reached out to me, said Brittany on the Not Skinny But Not Fat podcast via Bi-Wig Hello Drama, when asked if her relationship with the co-stars has changed since her split with husband Jax Taylor. I know that we didn't go to Stassi's wedding, and that was like a big deal, she said, after being asked why they're no longer close. But Katie absolutely has no reason why she wouldn't be talking to me. Like we've never had an argument, never had a fight. Well, if you know Katie, you know that she is Stassi's little soldier. So if Stassi doesn't rock with you, Katie doesn't rock with you. Because as much as Katie wants to have this sort of tough and emo girl, rocker, tequila Katie aesthetic, Katie is Katie's a bit of a follower. And Katie also is very, very soft. She has this hard exterior, but a lot of people like that who are fronting are really soft. Katie has always followed Stassi. And now on Vanderpump Rules, in my opinion, Katie is following Ariana, but for two different reasons. I think Katie and Stassi have a genuine friendship, whether it's codependent, whether it's whatever you want to call it. That's a real friendship over a decade-long history there. Katie is following Ariana this season because Katie doesn't want to be canceled. She wanted to see what was going to happen with something about her. And she also needed an ally on the show against Tom Sandoval because she herself still has such animosity against him that really has nothing to do with Ariana, just how Tom has treated her in the past. She says, Brittany believes part of it is that Katie doesn't like Jax, and Jax is a big wedge between her, Stassi, and Katie. Nah, I don't think it's Jax, boo-boo. Despite everything, Brittany said she hopes they can all be friends again, and she misses Stassi a lot. She was eventually asked if she regrets not attending Stassi's wedding. That was a huge part between me and Jax that nobody knows about, she said. It was bad. Yeah, I think that Jax, this is another thing though. I heard that it wasn't just the fact that they didn't go to Stassi's wedding, but Jax was openly bad-mouthing Stassi and Beau and the wedding to one of Beau's really good friends. And that friend told Beau and Stassi about it. And that Jax and Brittany was saying, oh, we're coming. But the whole time they were at least Jax was, bad mouthing them to the friend, and the friend told them. And then that was like the big blow up and everything. But as we've seen with Brittany, Brittany always enables Jax when he's in the wrong. So who knows? Who knows? Though Brittany regrets not going, she hinted that Jax was being Jax. And again, you can't keep blaming Jax. You're a grown woman. She explained, however, that there were other obstacles at the time. Her mom, for example, couldn't accompany them to Italy to watch her son because her mom's best friend's husband had just passed away. You also could have left your son in the States. Look, I don't know. What's more, Jax was also writing in group chats, which Stassi and Beau found out about, though Brittany had no idea. Jax's alleged actions made it seem like Brittany knew they wouldn't attend the wedding. You guys, it's a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess. This is the thing. Oh, here we go. On the Housewives Nightcap podcast, Brittany also addressed how castmates Jesse and Michelle went public with their separation just before the premiere. Before we get into that, more on Brittany 1000% knew her and Jax were not going to go to Beau and Stassi's wedding. If Jax said we're not going, she knew they weren't going. Again, Brittany, just be honest. That's the problem. You act like you're so innocent and, oh, Jax and Jax. No, Brittany, you are your own person and you're not as sweet as you pretend to be. You have a very nasty, mean side as well. And just be honest. Jax didn't want to go, so we as a family decided not to go. Just say that. Nobody would be mad at that. Nobody is going to be mad that you, as a family, decided not to go because Jax didn't want to go. He didn't want to bring the kid. He didn't want to go. It's a trip to Italy. It was like in like the middle of the pandemic or at the end of it, something like that. Those are all valid reasons. Just be honest. I think a lot of times it's never the crime, it's always the cover up. If I'm Stassi and Beau, I'm going to be pissed because if you're telling me you're coming, but in group chats and text messages, you're dogging me out, then yeah, I'm going to feel some type of way. And if I'm Stassi, I'm not really messing with you, Brittany, because you could have just texted Stassi and said, hey, Jax really doesn't want to go. I'm so sorry. We'll send you a lovely gift. Have a great time. Just wanted to give you the heads up. Boom. After that, if Stassi wants to be bridezilla and be mad at you, after that, if she wants to, get her guard dog Katie to not like you, that's on them. But you can't play in people's faces and then be mad with how they respond to you. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Jax and Brittany are constantly playing stupid games and then being shocked when they win stupid prizes. Just be honest. You were riding with your man, and that is okay. If me and my husband and my child, and it's like during the pandemic or a little bit after it, are invited to a wedding out of the country, and my husband says, babe, we're not going because of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I'm going to be like, okay, babe, cool. And I'm going to text my good girlfriend, Stassi, and be like, hey, Stas, Jack said we're not going because of this or whatever the case is. Have a great time. I love you. I will send you a gift. So sad to miss it. Love you, love you, love you. End of. It's all the rest of this nonsense that gets in the way. So, Brittany, own your stuff. Own it. Okay. They've actually been separated for a while. They've been separated longer than Jax and I have, said Brittany, who's been living apart from Jax for several months. Brittany explained that she and Michelle have gotten close because they're in such a similar situation, and Michelle knows how Brittany is feeling. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's be very clear. Jax interrupted via @BreakingTheRulesPod on Instagram. It could be very similar, but it's very different at the same time. I agree with Jax. I think the demise of Jax and Brittany's marriage is very, very different to what is going on with Michelle and Jesse. Just because they both are separating doesn't mean that they're the same. Apples and oranges. Apples and oranges. Jax added that he doesn't want the situations to be compared. I agree with Jax. Kristen Doty said, Kristen Doty then teased that fans will see Jesse and Michelle's relationship play out pretty much to the bitter end. The viewers will get to see all of that. Exactly, because Jesse and Michelle came on the show to get divorced. Brittany clarified that Michelle and Jesse are done, while Brittany and Jax don't know what our future holds. Yeah, because Michelle is out here with a whole new man. And Brittany's like tagging the man saying he's cute. Yeah, they've been done. We get it. We get it. So I want to know what you guys think about this. What do you think about Brittany blaming everything on Jax and taking zero accountability for her own actions and everything? What do you think about Stassi and Katie being ride or dies like they always have been and really not messing with Brittany and Jax like that? So let me know what you guys think. And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. So with that, you guys, I'm going to drop the link in case anybody wants to come up and chat. And if not, I will just go through some of your candy cane questions and comments. All right.